Hi guys, Dorothy here, professional astrologer. You can find me on the web at nhastrologer.com. And thank you for coming and listening to this today. I'm going to talk about 2019. I'm going to do a video forecast for each of the zodiac signs. But first, I'm going to give you 5 or 6 minutes of the year overview. Take notes. And then this will be the introduction. It's going to be in front of each one of the other videos that I create. So if you watch this introduction, you can skip it in the other videos if you end up watching more than one. All right, so let's get started. We have eclipses. Capricorn and Cancer. Cancer, Capricorn, oppositions, full moons, new moons, starting in January, ending in December. 5 eclipses this year. January 5th, January 21, see if I can remember, July 2nd, July 16, December 26. You could slow that down or hit pause and listen again. Those eclipses, mainly the Cancer Capricorn. So what this is doing, the eclipses, they change zodiac signs every 18 months or so. So these eclipses with the transiting lunar nodes, they're called, that's where eclipses happen. It is helping us and ushering us into a more authentic place in who we are. What we're focusing on is our home, security, our career. Do you feel like you're being true to yourself? That Cancer eclipses especially are helping us to tap into our emotions and how secure do I feel in my home? Do I feel secure? Can I come home and be vulnerable and emotional and comfortable and relaxed? Because home life, Cancer, and the public life, Capricorn, are two very different things, but they are tethered by an opposition. They are, when something happens on one end of the stick, it happens on the other end, right? Because there's always 2 ends to a stick, unless you make a circle, and that's all the 12 zodiac signs. But the opposition, Cancer, Capricorn, is ushering us into this area of being authentic in how we're presenting ourselves to the world. Now, a lot of people, it will create insecurities for some people, depending on how evolved or how in alignment with what's important for you. So this Cancer stuff can make us overly emotional, or it can help us tap into how we need to be more in tune with how we feel. Because life should feel good. Life shouldn't be difficult. Difficult things happen, yes, and we move through them. We always move through them. And that's where you tap into your emotions. And that's what this eclipse stuff is all about, in Cancer especially, helping us to get in touch with who you really are. And then the opposite energy of Capricorn is about being an authority at what it is that you do, feeling authentic, feeling like you're very validating how you feel. You can take control of things, which is great if you need to, but make sure you do it from an emotional place. How do I feel about this? Great, now I can take charge. All right, this is that Cancer Capricorn energy. It's super strong this year because of the eclipses. I mean, we have this energy every year, but it's powerful. So I'm going to, in the individual videos, I'm going to talk about it. You write all those keywords down that resonated with you, and then I'm going to talk about it in each house when it happens, okay? And so you'll get the zodiac energy of it a little more specific for you, okay? What else do I want to talk about? We also have Jupiter and Neptune squaring off this year, and it's a mutable square. Jupiter in Sag loves to experience life and to learn through diving in, full immersion. Squaring Neptune in Pisces. Neptune's been in Pisces for ages, so it's not a big deal, because it's just helping us to get into a more spiritual place for a lot of people, right? But Jupiter and Neptune in a mutable square, this is just enough tension, so it gives us motivation. Just enough, because squares aren't negative, like you'll read in some books, how they just villainize squares, but we need a little bit of tension to move us, especially with the mutable signs. So to me, this is a fantastic energy for the year. Now, the mutable square between Jupiter and Neptune will inspire us to be creative, to work on our intuition, work on our spiritual practices, things like that. And the square energy of that, and you can write this down too. Let me find my notes. Here it is. January 13th, June 16, September 21. So those 3 times is when they're exact, but they'll be playing with each other almost all year long. So that means we all have an opportunity to really tap into intuition and our spiritual and creative abilities. All right, helps us to smooth things out. Now, some people might take this and just dive off the deep end and go into their illusion and go into a place that, you know, that when we go and if we drink too much or get into drugs. So drugs and alcohol sometimes can really, people can go off the deep end with that too. But the Capricorn, especially the Capricorn eclipses and the energy there, it definitely helps to anchor us in a little bit more. Because we also have Saturn sextile Neptune this year. And with Saturn sextile Neptune, that's a fantastic anchor. I like that it's there. We actually need it because it's going to help to ground us in whatever it is we're going. So most of us don't go off a deep end into, you know, la la land. But hey, if you feel like diving in once in a while into music, I hear La La Land and I think music. You go into music, go into meditation, trust your intuition, get into painting, get into photography, whatever it is. These are the beautiful creative things we can do with Saturn sextile Neptune and the Jupiter squaring Neptune. All right, and I'll give you some more specifics in just a minute. Don't go away. I'll be right back. All right, hi Leo, this one's for you. Let's get started right off the bat. January 5th, we have a new moon solar eclipse. It's at 15 degrees of Capricorn. Now, new moons are always about setting realistic goals and feeling confident in your life, usually based on career, because that's what Capricorn is all about. For you, this eclipse, this new moon eclipse and setting goals is in your solar 6th house. And what that represents is Virgo energy. You know, I was a fan of Virgo energy because Leo tends to be, you know, gregarious and fiery and all over the place and just really passionate, right? Which you can still be that way, but you need to now focus on the details and that earthy energy of all of this Capricorn stuff in your 6th house, which is your work, your daily routine, what it is that is important for you. And when we have eclipses in that 6th house, we also need to be mindful of our physical health. So how well are you eating? Are you staying physically active? And we have a new moon there, so this is an opportunity on January 5th. This is the day we want to set our New Year's resolutions if that's something that you like to do. And for you, set your goals really based on how you can add really good, solid structural routine into your daily living. Because that's that piece of that Capricorn. That's what Capricorn in that 6th house has an awful lot to do with. Now, we also have, moving on, January 13th is the first square between Jupiter and Neptune, but it happens 3 times, and so let me give you those dates. January 13, June 16, September 21st. So, as a reminder, it's about being artistic and creative and, you know, finding inspirational things to do. Where is this going on in the Leo chart? This is going on from the 5th house to the 8th house. And so that means this. Jupiter moving through that 5th house in Sagittarius, that's Leo's natural home. This is about being passionate. So if we're being artistic and creative, Jupiter moving through that is a fantastic place for it. Sometimes we see additions to families in there because the 5th house also rules children. So sometimes we'll have more children come into the family, whether it's your own or others. It just is an expansion of the things that we create. And Jupiter and Sag in that area is definitely, you should be very interested in perpetual learning, experiencing life and learning. And the square to Neptune, Neptune's up in the 8th house. So we just need to make sure if we're being creative and artistic, that 8th house can be a little more macabre than other areas of the chart. So you might start creating, if you are a creative person, things that are a little darker in color. a little darker and richer in color, or more vibrant in color. Or it may just be that, you know, you're taking a risk with your finances. I know that's a shifting gear, huh? Instead of creative, because the 5th house is also taking risks and a chance. And lots of times gambling is about that house. And then the 8th house is finances and outside resources that we get to use. So make sure you use this in the best possible way. You can choose to use it any way you want, but the best possible way is to be creative and expressive. And another way to use it is to gamble and lose a lot of money. So try not to do that if you can. Now we also have, and then amongst that, in the same time period, January 31st, June 18, and November 8, this is when Saturn comes in and makes a sextile to that Neptune, so that anchors it. So it comes from the 6th house to the 8th house. So that really is nice. We needed this. While we can be creative and expansive in a lot of ways, we still need Capricorn energy. So there's still anchors it down a little bit. So being creative and being responsible and all of these things that come from the 6th house are fantastic, and that is something that you're going to be able to do. So we don't have to be overly worried, but keep an eye on those things, because that's how we use astrology. If you all of a sudden you realize that you're going down the rabbit hole of something that isn't quite so positive with that aspect, then you're warned ahead of time. So you have a chance to take care of that. Now, backing up just a smidge to January 21st, we have a full moon lunar eclipse. It is a super moon. We are able to see this. It is visible in North America and parts of Europe. I think South America too, but I'm not sure. Check nasa.gov. That's the American site I would use to check out where and when I can see it. But astrologically, this is fun because, you know, we have 5 eclipses this year, and this is the only one in the sign of Leo, because we just finished the whole cycle of Leo and Aquarius, and now we're into Cancer Capricorn, except for this applause. And this eclipse that we have here at 0 degrees of Leo is in your solar 1st house. And so when we have a full moon in that area, it is, you know, like, we tend to, I said, oh, because I wasn't sure what I was saying. Not bad. When we have that, you know, that's our personality in the face we show the world. So when we have a full moon eclipse there, this is us being really speaking out and really just getting center stage, because it's the final eclipse in that sign for 18 years, and we really need to be heard. So if you're feeling you need to say something, the sun is in Aquarius, so that's a little bit about freedom and breaking free from things. So those are the key words for that, you know, finding this place to really be expressive for ourselves. Okay, moving on to the next one. Uranus entering the sign of Taurus. When Uranus enters that sign of Taurus, let me get to the right, there we are, there's the chart. When Uranus enters that sign of Taurus on March 6th, now think back to May. Think back to May 17th, there you go, 2018. That was when Uranus first entered the sign of Taurus. So May, June, July, he went retrograde, I think in August, and now he's finally back. He went into Aries, back into Taurus. Anyways, think back to May, middle of the summer, late spring, what was going on for you at that point in time, because you're going to feel similar circumstances rise to the surface again. I mean, it's a pretty hard time for me with the loss of a friend, but the point is like, and I can't imagine that happening again, but there are ways to move through whatever was going on. There's a level of healing. There's just a sense of awareness. So for you, Leo, this is on your midheaven. So this is your career sector. So here you can see what your career is all about, and how whatever was going on in May will come back again, and you can get right into the front of the line as to being cutting edge and being innovative and really changing things up at your work. All right, whether you're the boss or own a business or an entrepreneur, and you're really digging in deep into the marketing and things such as that, or whatever it is. Uranus in Taurus. The clues were May and June. Now we have it in there, March 6th, for the next 7 years. So just know that if your job is boring and stale and you know you don't like it, then it's you are in an opportunity for it to change, all right? And make those changes yourself. You don't have to wait for them to happen. I know some people get nervous about stuff like that. Who doesn't, right? I know. I want to remind you, we have 3 Mercury retrogrades this year, like we always do. We always have 3. They're not the devil and the evil things that some people think they are. It is just an opportunity to slow down and assess what's going on in our lives. The retrogrades are mainly in water signs this year. For the most part, that's the theme. So that adds more emotion and more creativity and intuition to the mix. Subscribe to the channel and you'll get the weekly forecasts, and I will talk about them as they come up. Moving on, the next thing I want to talk about is the retrograde of Jupiter, April 10 to August 11. And that retrograde of Jupiter, again, is in your 5th house. So this is a great opportunity to be mindful not to exceed if things are going too big, because Jupiter's been in Sagittarius since November 2018. And so we've had nonstop growth until April. Expansion. You can only blow a balloon up so far before it pops. And then the retrograde gives us an opportunity to take our breath and to slow down. So we just need to pay attention. For you, it's in that 5th house of creativity and expanding, taking risks. So this is a good opportunity to slow that bad boy down, which we need to do. And speaking of retrogrades, we also have Saturn retrograde, April 29 to September 17. By the way, all the outer planets retrograde every single year, Jupiter out. So every single year they retrograde. So this is not the end of the world. This is just our opportunities to catch up. When Saturn's retrograde, it will be retrograde in your 6th house, which again is your everyday focuses. Right? What you focus on every day, and your health and wellness. This is the highlight and the focus of the year for you, Leo, is your 6th house, your Virgo house. Focusing in on those details. I know it's not always easy, but you're being asked to really step up and become more responsible somewhere in your life. All right, and that's retrograde period of Saturn will help you to restructure that if it needs restructuring. Only if it needs it. If you're good at restructuring things or keeping things structured, and you've already learned that lesson, and then it won't be difficult. Saturn is Saturn. All right, where am I now? I am on the next eclipse, which is July 2nd. And it is a solar eclipse, and it is in the sign of Cancer. And this new moon solar eclipse, 10 degrees of Cancer, is in your 12th house. There you go. In your 12th house. So this is a hidden place. It's a place we don't always see. It's like the walk-in closet in your house. Nobody knows it's there until you go into a room, and there it is. So it's not totally, completely, we're not blinded by the area, but it's an area that you have to work to get into. When there is a new moon in our 12th house, it happens once a year. This year it happens to be your turn. It's an eclipse. So every 18 years, we'll have an eclipse in this sign. So once every 18 years, an eclipse, once a year, a new moon in this area. So you'll be able to explore what's going on deep inside. All right. This is part of why there's so much Capricorn stuff and there's so much going on in your daily routine, because it's asking you to make sure everything's okay. Like if you really need to add meditation to your life because you have high blood pressure, things like that, because that 6th house is our health and how we handle it day in and day out. So we really want you to focus on that and find some private, quiet time for yourself so you're really able to get in alignment with what the higher self wants. And if you don't know what that means, just to feel better, all right? You don't even have to know what the higher self is, but it's just a piece of who we are. But I just want to feel better, and is how we can use that energy. All right, next eclipse, which is eclipse number 4 for 2019, is the full moon solar eclipse on July 16th. This one is involved with Pluto. Pluto's only a couple of degrees away from the moon, or the moon's only a couple away from Pluto. And July 16th, this full moon eclipse is in your 6th house, in your 6th house, same area. This is an opportunity to really focus on. Full moons illuminate what it is we need to see. And since it's right there with Pluto, that means there is a big, deep internal change happening for you. Something to pay attention to, especially since all of the eclipses are in that area or straight across the chart from it. And then we have December 2nd. December 2nd, Jupiter moves out of Sag into Capricorn, which means Jupiter moves into your 6th house. So for the whole year, all of this Capricorn stuff that started January 5th, and even sooner, honestly, has been saying, pay attention to your daily routine, pay attention to your structure, pay attention to where you're in charge and what you're doing and how you're setting up your strength in your foundation, in your daily living, in your daily life, right? Jupiter gets in there and it's like a blowhorn because you've slowly been getting one message after another after another. So now that Jupiter's in there at the end of the year, December 2nd, and will be in that sector for approximately 13 months, you have an opportunity. It's going to expand everything. We have a lot going on in January 2020, and that's all going to happen in your 6th house. So pay attention to those daily things. And to finalize all of that, the final eclipse of the year, December 26th, it's at 4 Capricorn. Again, focusing in. It's with Jupiter because they all caught up with Jupiter. So it's still in your 6th house. So if you really want to know more about this, you can read up on the 6th house. But it's being logical, being practical. Again, making sure your daily routine is a habit now. It should be a habit by now, this whole year. And we have a few more Cancer in Capricorn eclipses in 2020. So this is not the end of it. But Jupiter moving into that sector, that 6th house sector, is definitely helpful. Because if you are having any structural problems, any problems with anything, trying to figure anything out, Jupiter's going to get in there and inflate it. So you're going to be able to see what you might be missing. So that's a lot of work there. But this is typical, all right? I know it don't sound scary. This is typical. And come to my website, nhastrologer.com, and you can get your year ahead forecast there. You and I will talk. Have an hour session if we've never had one before. It's recommended. All right. Thank you for listening. Please comment, like, and share. Blessings. Namaste.